I hope everyone's doing well. I wasn't feeling well this past week, so I apologize in advance if I coughed during this video, but I did want to get something out. Hopefully you saw yesterday the special guide for the laws of Erev Pesach falling on Shabbos, and also we sent out the chametz forms, so we'll be able to sell in person as we have done in the past, and also for those who need to do it online, we have that option as well. This Shabbos is Parshas HaChodesh. It's a lot of davening, Shabbos Mevorchim, a lot of psukim to read. We draw close to Sefer Shmos, Vayakel Pekudei. So I like to draw attention to the very last pasuk of Sefer Shmos, and we see a connection between the last pasuk of the Sefer and the first pasuk. The last pasuk says, and it's really the crescendo, it's the Mishkan, it's already now established, it's built, and the Shekhinah has rested upon the Mishkan. And the last phrase in the pasuk is Le'enei Chobeis Yisrael v'chol mas'ehem, that this was, the presence of Hashem was discernible, whether it was the cloud or the pillar of fire, but it was before the eyes of the house of Israel. It doesn't say B'nei Yisrael, it says Beis Yisrael, the house of Israel. If we go all the way back to the beginning of Sefer Shmos, it says Ish uveso ba'u, Ela ve'ela Shmos, B'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayim. These are the names, and it says Ish uveso. One came with his family. It's an emphasis on the bias. If you think about the theme of Sefer Parshas versus Sefer Shmos, based on the Ramban, Parshas is the DNA, the origins. We come from Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Avos and the Imahos, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, and the maidservants, Bilhan, Zilpah, the Shvatim. They were formed in Sefer Parshas. But that wasn't really the beginning of the Jewish people as a nation. That takes place in Sefer Shmos. And the Ramban says that the full definition of redemption, being free, wasn't just breaking the shackles, breaking free and going out of Mitzrayim. It wasn't until we received the Torah, which interestingly enough also has the reference to the house of Yaakov, Kosomar Leves Yaakov. And then ultimately the completion of redemption was once the Mishkan was built and the Shekhinah was there. And it was a spiritual home for Hashem, Kaviyachol. And that's really the emphasis. The real backbone, the cornerstone of the Jewish people is the Jewish family. It all revolves around that. Without the family, and family can be defined in various ways. It doesn't mean always when there are children in the home, children grow up, and parents get older and they become grandparents, and obviously you have the various generations. But still, whether near or far under the same roof, it's based on family, that connection. And the great Kiddush Hashem of the Mishkan is the symbol of the bias, that in our own homes we can create that effect. And interestingly enough, tomorrow we also read about Korban Pesach, and that was based on the bias, that everyone had to choose the lamb, Ish selaves avos selabayis, the lamb for the home. So that's a very interesting emphasis. I saw this mentioned from Rabbi Frand. He mentions it from one of the Rabbeim in Israel. But it's a very nice way of encapsulating the Sefer. So as we draw close to the winter and we're on the cusp of Nisan and Pesach, we have to realize that what got us through to this point, and it's not just during the pandemic, but what got us through Golus until this point, and really the history of Klal Yisrael, I warned you, is the fact that the Jewish family has always been intact. And we look around and we see the family, the concept of family is under assault, but Baruch Hashem, it's alive and well in the Jewish people. And that is the source of our strength, and that is the source, ultimately, the emphasis of the Geula. I better stop now. Wish everybody a good Shabbos and a good Chodesh.